On the AM show, and the AM show is brought to you by Waylead Properties. This morning, Ben and I are in the studio to steer the conversation, so we're going to review the newspapers, and our guest joining us is Mr. Alfred Thompson. He's former Deputy Managing Director of NIB. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm fabulous. And I can see that Ben is matching me, so yeah, of course, I'm fabulous.
That's great.
You know, there's something that we've been trying to find out. I don't know what it is. The people who have served on this show with me, there tends to be, for some reason, you wake up, put on an attire, completely oblivious to what the next person is.
And
you
come the same thing.
I can vouch for not less than 60-70% of the time. And it's been happening with her. I've been teasing her that, hey, what is going on? I mean, today it's not that obvious. It's not that obvious today, but there are
connection from the house.
I don't know. There must be something.
Anyway, how was your weekend? What's on your mind? Let's get the conversation going.
The weekend was okay, quite cool. The only thing that happened was I saw this name. Is it Brigadier General Glover Ashon Annan being reassigned? So it kept ringing a bell in my mind. What is happening? Is it that we don't take our time to assign, or we'll just assign and then reassign? When you do that, you cause a lot of...
Is it Glover you're speaking of?
Yeah.
Glover.
Is it Glover they call him? Yeah, Glover.
Okay.
Annan.
Right.
He's now been made Commissioner General for...
Yes, I saw the...
So I was asking, this is not the first time. I think we need to not rush in taking decisions, but making sure that we take the right decisions at the right time, because some of these things need this knee-jerk approach or this immediate change is not too good for governance, and that is what came up.
Okay, so let's get in the newspapers. There are a lot of them. I'll start with the Daily Graphic. On the front page, you can't be a minor in government. President Mahama to appointees, and we'll start there, but let me finish the stories on the front page. Rename Tamale Airport after Nagbewa. Yana appeals to President Mahama. Efficient shift system, key to 24-hour economy success, according to KPMG. Omnibi SIC Bank doubles profit to 314 million cedis. So President John Dramani Mahama has directed no government appointee should engage in any form of illegal or legal mining. Quote, if you want to be a miner, leave the government and be a miner. You can't be in government and be a miner at the same time, President John Dramani Mahama declares. And the president was speaking at the launch of the Tree for Life reforestation initiative at the Kufuor Park in Nkwawie in the Ashanti region last Friday. Mr. Thompson, what do you think about the president's directive or instruction, should I call it a declaration, that you cannot be a miner and be in government? Is this a display of the political will that we said was lacked in the previous administration in terms of our quest to eradicate this Galamsey menace? Is this a step in the right direction? What do you think?
Good morning once again, and I would say that is the usual rhetorics.
This is not a demonstration of political will? Oh.
Every appointee of the government is not supposed to be in any business of a sort. But people are opening companies and assigning themselves or those companies businesses to do. It's like I'm saying, you don't sit down and just come and say, oh, you cannot do Galamsey, or if you want to do this. We've heard it before. I would abhor anything that is not right. Don't just sit down and talk. If you have one or two people that you know are doing this, just bring them out and punish them. And then the rest will stop. But if you come and tell us, oh, if you want to be in government, don't do this. If you want to be rich, don't be in government. And then you get people being rich in government.
You know, we heard that it was a leadership problem. Then I'll pause in a bit and you come in.
Oh, I mean, go ahead.
That we have a leadership problem, right? And that the former President Akufuor was looking on while some people were being named and so on.
Isn't
and so
the same
forth.
thing happening?
So let me land on the question. Now we are seeing a new leader who's very assertive that don't do this. If you're in my government and you do this, there will be repercussions. Is that in any way not something different than what we used to?
Under the same president, Nana Akufo-Addo, remember he stated that if you want to be rich, you can't be in government.
I was just about to say that.
If you wanted to be rich, you can't be in government. But appointees were being named that have made money all here and there. And the same thing is happening. If you want to go into Galamsey or be a miner, you can't be in government. And we know people who are sponsoring people to be in mining.
Okay.
We know it happens. So let's stop the rhetoric. That's why I said that if you have a name, or if you've identified one or two people, all you need to do is to punish them. The rest will stop. You don't need to come and tell me that, oh, if you want to be in government, you shouldn't open a company. People have companies running all around, from cleaning to business, big business companies competing with the businessmen out there. Go and ask them, and they'll tell you that that was one of the serious problems they had.
In a related matter, the story is on myjoyonline.com, and I want to add it for your reflections. Forestry Commission officer fighting for life after machete attack by illegal miners in Ofin. And it says a member of the Forestry Commission's rapid response team is battling for his life after being attacked by armed illegal miners in the Ofin Shelter Belt Forest Reserve in the Ashanti region. He sustained a deep machete wound to his knee during an ambush by these miners. Looks like the reports of illegal miners attacking authorities and journalists continues.
I was speaking to someone somewhere last week, and he was telling me that now the miners are even using foreigners as their guards. So before you can even enter, you can get some Burkinabe, some other people that you can't even relate with, and they will start attacking you before you even get into the forest.
Did you just say now?
Yeah, that's what I know now.
It's not new.
I didn't know it before. I'm telling you the truth. I didn't know it before. That's why I told you that it was only last week.
Right.
I got to know, and the person was telling me that now this is what is happening.
Right.
I didn't know that before. There were foreigners who were guards at the forest and trying to prevent the police and other people from entry. What I knew was that before then, some of these security personnel, I wouldn't say the police or the military, but some of the security personnel had their own way of doing their gigs. And it's becoming serious. And from beginning I stated, and I'm stating it again, if you go the partisan way, you will not win this fight. We all have to get involved and stop trying to, blame game things. Once you go that tangent, you've lost the battle.
I don't know about the blame game in this instance because it's a national problem and we have to resolve it.
It's always been
on the national level rather than a partisan level. But if you listen to the president's rhetoric saying that if you want to be in my government, you can't mine, then you stop and go and do whatever. And if it's illegal, then you face the ramifications. You mentioned what Nana Akufo-Addo said, which I said, basically you're taking the wind out of my sail, because Akufo-Addo said, if you want to come into government to enrich yourself, not that you are rich. If you are rich, you are rich.
Yeah.
But if you want to come and use the government machinery to enrich yourself, don't. Unfortunately, we saw what we did. This president is now saying this. If he fails to live up to it, he will bear the consequences. But a quick point. They've mentioned that when these excavators are found, the chassis number will be taken, right?
Yeah.
Tax identification, certification will be taken so that you can trace it all through that. So whoever the owner is, it can be traced to that person. The chassis number will also be taken, whoever the owner is, using both approaches. My only issue, 107 people so far, foreigners, have been apprehended and deported. But if you read the Minerals and Mining Amendment Act 2019, there's talk about jailing them before, which your administration was failing to do back then too.
It did.
But the point is,
it sent them to court.
A few of them. Some of them were just taken out of the system. But when the media especially started cracking down on this bit, then some of them were put into custody. That is my problem here. So, Mr. President and your team, if these people are apprehended, dump them in our jails and convicted, put them in jail. When they serve their term, after that, then you deport them. But if you deport them now and they find their way of coming back like Aisha Huang did from Rosewood to other things, then what do we do? That's my only concern.
And I agree with you. I wouldn't say the previous government did not jail some of them. They did. And
some of them. Some.
Yeah, I don't know the ones that it was only Aisha that I knew that she was deported and brought back, and the famous Osaf Mawafu quotation that they negotiated on it. But apart from that, the rest I know were jailed. And sometimes when you jail someone, you can now go on terms where you do prisoner transport or prisoner exchange. So these are some of the things that happen. But I believe that the first and most important thing is to jail them.
Okay, let's move forward. There are a lot of stories here that I'm sure would pop up in your papers. I want to focus on sports because GFA wants pitch invaders surcharged for FIFA fine. Ghana's Football Association is taking decisive action against the pitch invader who disrupted the Black Stars World Cup qualifier against Chad last Friday. And the GFA Safety and Security Committee has pressed charges of misdemeanor and is pushing for the culprits to be held financially responsible for the fine expected to be imposed on by FIFA. And they're saying there's growing concern that pitch invasion is becoming an all too frequent occurrence and it poses some safety risks to players and, in fact, everyone there at the stadium. But first of all, congratulations to the Black Stars. I didn't expect it. Like that funny video. I really did not expect it. Do you think that the president's meeting the players ahead of the game had anything to boost their confidence? I'm hearing a lot of Abampapa now. By now, the Ghana Black Stars are doing well. The rhetoric and the reactions pouring in. I mean, we Ghanaians is like us to make it partisan. But what do you think?
You see,
and then you can link it to this pitch
when you start this way,
yeah,
and things start going the opposite direction, don't blame anyone. Football is something that we've all realized that it brings a nation together. We've always been fighting with the Black Stars about the way they always disappoint. When the time you expect them most to perform, that is where they disappoint you the most. And so we're all happy. In fact, we're all, like you're saying, we're all glad and shockingly glad that they were able to do a 5-0 thing. We are praying and we are hoping that they will continue that way. If they're able to do that and we win and we go to the World Cup and we perform there, we'll all thank our God and say that, well done. Yeah. And we'll definitely thank the minister in charge to say that, yes, maybe he steered them in the right direction and maybe he did something good. Okay. But don't start blowing your horns before. It's only one game. It's only one game. And like you are saying that, oh, you are just in government for less than 3 months. I don't expect you to have done any miraculous thing within the first 3 months to be able to say that, oh, because you are in government, so things have changed.
Really? No credit at all?
Every president goes to meet the Black Stars and tell them something. Even the, opposition leaders do that. So I don't see any great thing. All I'm saying is that they've done well, the Black Stars have done well. I would say that they should, whatever is going on, they should encourage them, but there's nothing serious or there's nothing they've done that is so unique that has made the Black Stars win. I believe the boys worked on their own. And don't forget that the likes of IU and things very soon are going off the pitch. So definitely, once you've brought him in, he wants to make a mark before he leaves.
Right.
I think it's on social media that people haven't heard any person in any authority, whether the GFA or government, try to claim anything on the back of this. But let's also face it, Chad is ranked, 176th? Ghana is 77th in the world. It's a yawning, gap. But why people are celebrating? If you look at the likes of Niger, Comoros, Islands, Madagascar, and the rest, they have been lowly countries that you would think Ghana would wallow, and sometimes they've ended up beating us. So I think you can't take it away from Ghanaians to celebrate, but there's no real claim of who has done this and who has done that. Let's just hope that things retain this way. By the way, it's been a long time. We've been on a one-goal project all the way from even the last World Cup. It's been losses or one-goal project. So this 5-0
what did they do
seems
differently?
to be exciting for Ghanaians. I think that is
something happened, right?
I believe
that's what I'm trying to explore. What happened?
They think they've given you too many heartbreaks.
So it was an intentional thing. They can switch it on and off.
Want to change the situation.
Okay, yes.
But to put it on there, I believe that maybe because the squad, most of them will be leaving the scene soon. They want to at least do something before they go.
Well.
I believe so.
Hopefully. Just two headlines and then we get into other newspapers. Government releases 265.22 million for LEAP program. That is the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty program. And the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection has projected to disburse 265.22 million for the 94th and 95th payment cycles of its flagship project, Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty program. We know that the payment or the grant is paid bi-monthly with varied amounts paid to households, and each household on the program is paid according to the program's eligibility criteria, and including orphans and vulnerable children. So we know that 265 million has been released. Now, last story, Chief Imam urges Muslims to pay taxes. I think it's interesting. Why do they not pay taxes? The National Chief Imam, Sheikh Usman Unuhu Sharbutu, has asked Muslims to pay their taxes to generate funds for the nation's development initiatives. These stories and many, many more in the daily graphic. You can pick one for yourself and get into it. But any quick reflections on that? Otherwise, we get into your paper or Ben's.
I think everyone needs to pay taxes. Everybody. I mean, it's even got into a stage where people are asking that why is the president himself not paying taxes? Yeah. Because it's leadership by example. So they expect the president to be doing, not this president, but every president to be paying taxes. So I believe what the chief imam is saying is in the right direction.
Okay. Let's
all be honorable and do well to pay our taxes. And also, if the tax system, I always say, if it's very easy to operate, everybody will be willing and gladly pay taxes. But if you have a situation where you yourself cannot calculate your taxes that you need to pay for even a year, then it becomes very difficult to do that. So I've stated that GRA needs to have their game. They need to do a lot of PR. They need to go out and make sure that they explain and teach people. They need to liberalize the system so people can even sit at home and do the easy thing.
Okay.
But even as we talk about taxes, we must also keep in mind that it is important, even as you say everyone should be taxed, forward-looking jurisdictions look at taxing more of the rich. Everybody is taxed, but the rich pay more, and the very poor pay less, so that you can bridge the gap between the very rich or the haves and the very poor, the have-nots, which is progressive taxation. So even as we talk about taxation, we must always bear that in mind.
I don't believe
because
that.
In our jurisdiction, if you look at it, oftentimes taxes impact those who have not a lot more than those who have, and it is unfair.
Everybody should be taxed equally. It's like one man, one vote. Mm-hmm. I mean, why should I go out at 6 a.m., 5 a.m., 4 a.m., work hard, and I'll come and pay more taxes because I decided to work harder?
You don't think, in fact, in the kind of economy we run, sort of like the capitalist system that the Americans run, if we decide that let's say you can pay, or your earnings add up to, let's say, 1 billion Ghana cedis per year, and I make 50,000 Ghana cedis per year. You are saying that apart from the fact that you pay a greater quantum, there shouldn't be some mechanism to ensure that since you can afford way more, you should pay a little more for education, for street lighting, and all of that. You think it's irrelevant?
That is where you start getting people doing all sorts of things and hiding all sorts of figures.
How so?
Because don't forget that those who are in that category already do a lot of social responsibility projects. They do a lot of social responsibility projects. And once you do social responsibility projects, it's supposed to be taken out from your tax.
But those we've been talking about the tax refund mechanisms and all of that. Those feed into those.
Does it work?
It does work.
It doesn't.
If you file your taxes, no. This is not fair to the GRA. If you file your taxes and go through the processes, they will give you your refund.
How long?
And progressive economies do this, plus these taxes. I mean, no matter how long it takes, you will get your money.
So why would I take about 6 months to a year just to get a refund?
Do you get the money back? You do.
What I'm saying is that when you make things easy, everybody feels willing to contribute towards it. But when things are tightened in such a way that you yourself you can't even sit there and say that if I work worth maybe 10 million this year as a businessman, I should be able to pay about 2 million or 1 million worth tax and give it to the GRA. So my target is to make sure that this year I'm going to work maybe 10 million or 12 million. And I know how much tax I'm supposed to. And that's how development countries run. But if I cannot calculate my own tax, and I can sit there and you come and I've worked about 10 million Ghana cedis worth, and you come and tell me that I have to pay 4 million, I have to pay 3 million, why would I start declaring to you?
These are interesting.
We need to do things well.
This will be a whole conversation on its own, but I disagree with you, but you're entitled to your opinion, of course.
Your paper?
No, let's do one of your papers before I come in.
One of mine? Well, I saw something interesting here. Let me see. We have no health insurance. We pay for treatments. Ghana National Fire Service. And it's because of the Kumasi Edum fires over the weekend, and the reaction of the regional minister and the way he spoke to, to the fire officers over there. I believe that it's high time we look into this very well, especially a fire officer going on duty and hasn't got insurance, they haven't got anything that if anything should happen to him right now, the government is not going to take responsibility of it. You have to go and work and get a refund. I don't think it's fair to them. I don't think it's right. And I think immediately we should look at it and see how best we can work something out. Because these are people who have put, in the first place, they put their lives on the line. So once they are coming or they hear any fire anywhere, the first responsibility is that let me go and make sure that I quench that fire. If the person is not safe himself, then how would he go there and do the right thing? So we should look at it, sit down and really ask ourselves holistically whether we ourselves are doing the right thing. If we are and we think we are doing the right thing, then I leave it to man and God to judge.
On that issue, I know, Sweetie, you've been having some, I don't know, I saw you with Alex Kenate on Friday.
Yeah.
But if you look at the figures when it comes to the fire service, I think they are woefully under-equipped. And that didn't start today, but where does it stop? Where do we do the right thing? On Friday, as we had this incident, if you look at our firefighting trucks, as of last year, 248 appliances were available, 133 of them were faulty, which meant that 53.6% of the firefighting trucks were faulty. And I don't want to give the regional breakdown, but if you look at even the Ashanti region, let me look at the figures for the Ashanti region. As of end 2024, the Ashanti region had, and this is one of the best, they had 25 available trucks. 6 of them were faulty, so 19 were active. If you look at the Greater Accra region, 25 available, 15 faulty. So in the Greater Accra region, 10 available. If you look at some regions, OT, Upper West, Upper East, and the rest, none available. So when these issues come up, I can understand the regional minister. It's his region. He will feel very, but let's face it, our fire service officials are woefully under-resourced. And it's something we have to look at. You can't also expect me that I don't have the right tools I need and you want me to go and risk my life just because. No, I mean, it must be rational. And the cranes, we were talking about the cranes. How many of those? Did you see how long it took before one of them? I hear that's the only crane in the Ashanti region.
Yeah.
Crane.
The fire tender, the tender cranes. You know, there are these ones that you can use to go higher, high-rise buildings. So I think we really need to retool them, Sweetie. And
you see, unfortunately, these inadequacies shape our perception of the entire service. We watched that fire, that small, in a very small portion of that top building, grow into such a disaster. And at some point, you saw that citizens were trying to hold the, I don't know what it's called, the hose away, take it away from the fire service personnel because because in our minds, we know they feel that they are not up to task, you know, so they need to aid the person. There was one woman there, and she looks like she was struggling. And so people had to come in, one pulls from her, the other way. She's like, leave it for me. We're watching all this, play out on national television. If we are, resourcing this fire service at the rate at which we're supposed to do, and they are well equipped, I don't think that civilians or citizens will try to jump in and take the massive fire from them and try and douse a fire when they are the ones who are supposed to be doing that job. In a way, our perception
of the trained for that. And when there is a fire, there's a way you should stand to even quench it.
Yeah.
Use the distance. So it's not as if maybe the person didn't know what they were doing. But sometimes in a rush to feel that, you have to finish this fire right now, straight away, we want to jump in and help. If they
trusted that the personnel knew what they were doing, could handle the situation without any, do you think they would jump in and this is a fire officer and you are trying to take hose from the person?
In the first place, the police should have quadroned that area, that you can't go.
But you see, that's the problem. It becomes really difficult because people are also, and that's another dangerous thing. I don't know what it is with us, and there's a fire. You remember Apiate? Mm-hmm. There's an explosion, then people are going to siphon fuel and all of that, then there's an explosion. I think I don't know whether not atomic, but there have been other incidents where you see a disaster, you go closer. And I remember when the atomic one happened, I was on the UG campus. Okay. You could feel the explosion from around Pentagon. You know, and people apparently were trying to go closer to the thing when you should be trying to get as far away as possible. Part of the problem the fire service faced, and Ghana for SSC, you have an escalating situation like this. The fire service can't even get through because they structures are everywhere. And then you have human beings in there. And then you turn around and blame the fire service.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm saying, that you even block the place. So how do you expect the fire service, the tanker to go closer to the place and even spray? And these are things we should be careful about. But one thing that he mentioned, and Kenashibi has also urged here, jail foreigners who engage in galamsey. The same thing you were saying earlier on. And Kenashibi happens to be my mate from Augustine, so I just picked it up to bring it out. That we need to make sure that we are jailing foreigners who come over to this country to destroy our lands and our property.
You can't go to their country and do that.
You can't go outside this country and do anything like that anywhere. And it's high time that we preserve and value what we have and rather help our people to progress. There are certain places where even when you want to start a business, the person from that country gets a bigger percentage of the business than even you, the foreigner. And these are things that we should look into and make sure that our people rather get better progression than foreigners who come and exploit us, and when they finish, they move out of this country.
Right, and that's for the Ghanaian publisher, I think. Yeah,
Ghanaian publisher.
Would you like to do one more paper? I will go very quickly, so if you want to do...
I love this one. Adjua Picks Baumia overheard that she's been in the news quite lately, and I believe that the party is working with her to bring tensions down. Because
are they working with her?
With her, yeah. They are working with her.
Okay.
You see, in every election, when there is a loss, the pain and the agony that you go through, sometimes you feel like, spilling everything and saying everything you have to say, forgetting that sometimes you are under oath and you are not supposed to, especially being a former cabinet minister. I think some of the things are there that she went beyond board. But however, the party has sat down with her, they are talking, they are making sure that things, it's not only her, but other people are there too who are being talked to. Everybody I would employ the party members that let's all cool heads down. Let us work together, because it's a matter of coming together to work. I mean, once you've lost an election, that's not the first time we are losing an election. And even before President Kufuor came, look at the number of challenges we had in the first elections. So I would say that let's cool heads down, let's work together. We have a strong opposition to give. We have an alternative to show Ghanaians that we are. Yes, we might have made mistakes, but I believe that, I said one thing I always say, that you can't blame Nanado for everything. He did a lot of good works. When you look at structures and infrastructure that has gone on, even those fire systems that you are talking about, when you look at the tenders and things that he brought in, there are a lot. But at the end of the day, yes, we failed in one or two places like governance and other things that maybe we didn't listen too much, because we felt that sometimes you have to push hard to get things done. And these are some of the challenges we have. So she should put everything down, and others should do the same. And let's work together.
It's interesting. I know you are moving on. Picks Baumia over her kid's dad. I'm sure they are referring to the former Asin Central legislator, Kennedy Ejapong. Well, that's her decision to make, of course. But with everything she said about the school feeding program and the party's internal structures and how she was victimized, listening to her, you can feel her pain. When she spoke on Asempa, when she spoke to Blessed Sogan here, you could feel her pain, and she was asking questions.
Everybody has a story.
Just hold for me. You say under oath. She's not under oath.
No, when you go to cabinet...
She is not bound. The Constitution of Ghana allows for freedom of speech. We've heard instances where, and I don't want to mention names, where supposedly, was it Friday, she was supposed to go for an interview, or Thursday, and cars blocked the entrance.
That is what they said, but I don't believe it.
I have spoken to a few people who seem to suggest that it did happen. But all of these would be unfortunate. I think there should be ways of, yes, as a party, this will not do you good. Find ways of speaking to her. negotiating with her as the Council of Elders, but going to block her house
I know
is not in the right.
There have been a lot of meetings.
The point, though, even in the US, they have whistleblowers.
Yeah.
You get it. Within parties, outside of parties. Didn't you see Trump is victimizing some people now who, I think Liz Cheney and others, who taking away their security clearance and all of that. Yeah, there may be consequences, but she has every right to speak. Okay. Though I feel there could be better ways of doing it.
So when you go to cabinet and when you go even as a minister, you take the cabinet oath and the ministerial oath. It's not everything that you can come out to say unless you are under
What exactly
a court,
did she say that falls in that category?
Under a court of jurisdiction. You know that there are so many challenges when they come. You don't know where to stop sometimes when you go on emotional rampage. And that is why I said all of us, we have a story to say. Me sitting here is not everything I was happy with. But that doesn't mean that I should come here and pour my heart out. This is not the right forum.
The thing she's talking about, school feeding,
go
school
on.
feeding and the rest, these are things that, if taken seriously, would help revamp the system to make it better. You are saying she should have just held on to the information or given it to the MPP. What would the MPP do with that information?
Is it coming on airways that would solve the problem?
What would the MPP have done?
No, I'm asking a simple question. Is it coming on airways that will solve the problem?
And I'm asking you, what would the MPP as a party have done with that information?
Report to the right quarters. There's an OSP there. That's why the OSP was employed. So if you think you have a problem, or you think maybe going on air, you see, I don't want to go into details, but as a minister, if you have challenges, you go on air and rather dance. Is that the right thing to do? Let's not go that tangent. We've sorted it out to this point.
Right.
So when you have a challenge, report to the right quarters. The mere fact that there's a new government doesn't mean that you can't go and tell the OSP or you can't tell the CID that, listen, these were the challenges I saw. Maybe under my government, they couldn't do anything about it. But I think you should open...
Mr. Thompson, did you hear her say her life was in danger? Did you hear her say that?
I seriously did not listen to every aspect of the interview.
I listened to the entire interview with
Elton because she was here and there and everywhere, so I didn't listen.
Great. So you're saying that you said you called it an emotional something, emotional
outburst.
Yeah. And you're saying that she should have reported to the party.
Yes.
Now in this
not only the party.
Well, two things. The right score. Two things. One, I want to know what exactly you picked from everything she said here and there that was outside the boundaries of what she can and cannot say on air. And then how else should she have dealt with it when the party, her own party, sort of discriminated against her, and she says that the threats that were made on her life was coming from people within the party. So where should she have gone to?
You see,
how does that qualify as an emotional
I would be
outburst?
glad if I wouldn't have opened the inside party things. But I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Where you say that you've done an audit and given it to the president, and the president put it somewhere. Then they ask you that, I heard somewhere that they were asking her about that report and what the president said, no, Nanado hasn't done anything
They were asking her now, who sent you? Who sent you this report? Who sent you?
On towards and everything, you see. So there's a conflicting information there. When you do that, people also start questioning you yourself. And that is why I said sometimes we shouldn't rush in thinking that, it's when I come out and say things, then I'm free.
Okay. Let's move on to this.
Anyway, I will just say this, Sweetie and Alfred. We all remember Professor Frimpong Boateng. What happened to his report? That's
remember that people came out that his son was involved in all the things that were going on. What happened to it?
Well, my only question is what happened to
that is why I'm saying that.
Since you are saying
that is why I'm saying that some of these things don't rush and go out and talk. Because if you are not careful, you implicate yourself.
I think as individuals, we deal with things differently. What may break me would probably just be a little thing you would brush aside. We really cannot judge this woman who says her life was under threat for the channel she chooses to vent her spleen. I don't think we can judge her for that. Especially because she categorically said that she was not speaking on she wasn't talking about the party as a whole. She was talking about individuals and things that she herself experienced. You know, I just think that in as much as I agree with what Ben said and what you're saying, that there could it could have been handled better. I don't think we should judge her for expressing herself.
In multimedia.
And exposing some rot.
In multimedia. Don't you have challenges with even some individuals you are working with?
Of course.
You come out on air to state it.
Right.
The Ghanaian Times newspaper now. Western Regional
let's
Chiefs
take
declare support for Dr. Obin to drive Petroleum Hub project. Government releases 265.2 million Ghana cedis for LEAP beneficiaries. March 31, April 1st declared statutory public holidays because, of course, one of the days falls on a Sunday. Tree for Life initiative, 7 million seedlings to be planted nationwide. That's in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Deal for printing industry, a story I'll do briefly. 564.6 million to remain in economy as textbooks will be printed locally. That's according to the president. On the back page, Black Stars plot Madagascar 4. Asari deserves his place in post. Otoado says so. Talking about Hearts of Oak goalkeeper Benjamin Asari, who was handed a starting role in Friday's qualifier against Chad. So let me quickly get to this story, the one about printing. That is on page 12. Here we are. So President John Dramani Mahama has announced a mega deal for the local printing industry as government is set to print all textbooks for basic schools across the country locally. This, he said, would keep the 564.6 million Ghana cedis earmarked for the printing of the textbooks in the Ghanaian economy. Addressing the chiefs and people of Tamale on his thank you visit to the northern region on Saturday, President Mahama said the no textbook phenomenon had become a thing of the past. That's what he said there. Journalists schooled on proliferation of illicit small arms and the West Africa Action Network on Small Arms Ghana, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, have organized a media empowerment workshop in Kumasi to address the proliferation of illicit small arms in Ghana. We were just reading a story about something similar in the northern region. Now the custodian, law professor, questions Addison's house raid and then hidden dangers of frequent eating after 40. That is the age of 40. So more questions are being raised about the propriety of the Ninja and Rambo style raid of the residence of the former governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, though government officials have officially sanctioned the invasion as lawful. Of course, we heard Dr. Sremsai, Justice Sremsai, speak to it about the warrant. A senior law lecturer at the University of Ghana, Professor Kwejo Epiaje-Etua, has challenged the legality of the search conducted on the former governor's residence. He argued that the manner in which the search was carried out raised critical legal and ethical questions that must be addressed to ensure accountability and transparency in law enforcement procedures. Let me just do the final story on page 8, and I'll pause there for your reactions. Okay, so page 8 doesn't have the story that's supposed to be on page 8. Let me just find it because it's something that I really want to. So it's actually on page 5. The hidden dangers of frequent eating after 40. Are you among the millions of adults over 40 who frequently eat? Perhaps you grab a snack every hour or eat multiple small meals throughout the day. This habit can have serious health consequences, including weight gain, insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, and cognitive decline. I would prefer that you get a copy of the Custodian newspaper and get into these stories. But coming to you, Alfred, this sum of money, 564.6 million to remain in the economy by printing textbooks locally, the Dr. Addison house raid, we've heard people from different angles. Some say it was right, others say, but it could have been done better. What's your take?
I'll take the first one first, the printing of textbooks instead of the use of the tablets that we're moving into. You know, the world is evolving, and once we are moving forward, coming back becomes a serious problem. You don't just come back because, I just want to come back for coming back's sake. Children are now, in fact, yesterday there was a lady who came to visit me with a 1 year, 4 months old child. And when you look at the way the kid was playing on the, iPad or the tablet, I was shocked. I said, kids are now moving into that age. You are training them to become world leaders, not only Ghanaian leaders, but world leaders. They are going into the world to sit down with other kids and learn together. And seriously, when you go out there, you realize that Ghanaians do well because of the way we are trained and everything. But why now say that, now I'm cancelling all these laptops and tablets that were being given to the children for them to learn how to even navigate and know that, okay, this is the subject I'm going to do today. These are the topics I can even read ahead and everything, because everything is on the tablet. when you look at the tablet they started, the pilot and everything, you realize that everything is there. So it becomes easier for teacher-student interaction.
Quick question, do you know to what level this tablet distribution had got to? How many had tablets, at what level, and all of that, to talk about rolling it out?
It started getting to the latter part of the Akufo-Addo government. I mean, it's not every school that got it. I was with the vice president in one of the Kumasi schools, one of the big schools there. And when we went to see the children doing it, it was marvelous. They were happy about using the tablet and everything, which was quite good. So I believe that everything, you see, every step you take, there will be challenges. How do I navigate to make sure that I come out of the challenges successfully, but not coming back to do the old system ways? Otherwise, you should go back to the...
Okay, so there's the issue of how many had these tablets in the first place and procurement, but there's also the issue of the tablets weren't going to phase out automatically the use of textbooks. You're fully aware of that. It was not.
It was.
Go and look at...
It was a gradual thing going to phase it out.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying, that it wasn't all of a sudden going to phase it out. There was going to be a printing component anyway. If we localize it, that is fine. It remains to be seen whether that will be done, because I think even under the erstwhile administration, there were some promises in that regard. But even as we talk of that, I also want to encourage parents especially. I teach children from time to time. If you read the science of it, there are cognitive consequences for exposing children too early to all of these tablets and phones that are all, you can check them out. So I think there should be a balance. Yes, letting them at a certain age get to know about these things. But if you read the science of it, I see too many people come for Sunday school and a child will be bawling. All they want is a tablet or a phone. It has cognitive consequences where later in life, even studying becomes a problem. So let's be careful how we approach this whole bit about, it's digital, so they are catching up with the rest of the world. Even in the US and the UK, they are struggling with those problems. So let's be careful what we copy. Would you like to say something about...
Otherwise, we wouldn't look at anything. City didn't have a take on this one.
No, it's okay. I just prompted me that we have to go.
I was wondering whether you would say anything on
Addison's raid. It was actually one of the things I needed to...
Colonel Festus Aboagye says he had a backdoor. He was monitoring the central bank from his house.
I mean, where is this done?
Oh,
it can't happen, please.
It can't.
Let's be serious.
Oh, okay.
Let's be serious. I've been yes, you might have your, what do you call it, your tablet or your systems where you can sit down and check certain things in there, or even work from the house. But to have the whole, you know how many different sites they have?
In fact, the Inquisitor captures that story. Addison, the spy, unmasked.
Do you know how many sites Bank of Ghana has in this country? And then he hasn't got any work to do. You just be sitting down and monitoring people and the meetings they are doing. Let's be serious as a country. Let's be serious. What is wrong is wrong. If you think, as a national security operative, you think that I have gadgets in my house spying, you should be able to even show pictures by now.
And that is Mr. Alfred Thompson, the former Deputy Managing Director of NIB. Thank you for joining us. And that's it for the news review segment on the AM show. Coming up next, Muftar Nabil Abdullahi will tell us why the Black Stars surprised us on Friday. Then,
well, let's get into sports with Muftar Nabil Abdullahi. After that, we'll bring more conversations, including that one on the Ghana Black Stars. We'll be right back.